Rank 1. Private. The floor is cold, not cold like your bedroom at home in winter, cold like stone that has never once known warmth. You open your eyes and for one brief, beautiful half-second, you forget where you are. Then the sound hits you. Boots. Shouting. A tin bucket kicked down a corridor with enough force to rattle inside your skull. It is 5:30 in the morning, and you are a private in the British Army. You have no rank, no authority, no privileges. You have a number, a uniform that scratches every inch of skin it touches, and a bunk that smells like the previous man's fear. It is 1939. You are 19 years old. You signed the papers 3 weeks ago. Partly because your mate dared you, partly because the factory job back home was killing you slowly, and partly because the recruitment poster made it look like an adventure. You told your mother it was the right thing to do. She cried into her apron and said nothing at all. Training begins before the sun appears. You run until your lungs burn, crawl through mud, under live barbed wire, and climb ropes with arms that were never designed for climbing ropes. The corporal running the session has a voice like gravel inside a metal drum, and he uses it entirely to explain how pathetic you are, how his grandmother moves faster, and how your suffering will continue until you stop being an embarrassment to the uniform. You pick up the pace. Your rifle, a Lee Enfield bolt action, weighs 9 pounds. 9 pounds sounds manageable until you have carried it for 6 hours through cold rain. You learn to strip it and reassemble it blindfolded, because in a dark ditch under enemy fire, your hands must work without your eyes. You do it wrong 14 times before your hands finally remember on their own. Pay is 14 shillings a week. The food is porridge, stew, bread, and something that claims to be meat. You eat fast because there is always something to do after eating. There is always, without exception, something to do. And yet what nobody prepares you for is the waiting. You sprint across a muddy field at full speed and then stand in formation for 40 minutes while paperwork gets sorted. Hurry up and wait, the old soldiers say, grinning at your confusion. What also nobody prepares you for is the brotherhood. By the end of the first month, the men in your section have become something you don't have a word for. You didn't choose them, you wouldn't have spoken to half of them back home. But you have suffered together, been humiliated by the same corporal together, eaten terrible food together, and that creates a bond that bypasses every normal social rule entirely. You know who cries quietly when he thinks everyone is asleep. You know who will be rock solid when things go wrong. This knowledge will one day keep you alive. One thought carries you through every freezing morning and every screaming session on the parade ground. If I survive this, I will never let anyone make me feel this small again. The only question is whether you will survive it. Rank 2. Lance Corporal. There is no ceremony. Your sergeant appears beside you one afternoon while you are cleaning kit, tells you that you are Lance Corporal now and not to let it go to your head, and walks away before you can respond. You look at the single chevron on your arm, one stripe. It means almost nothing in the grand structure of the British Army. It also, in the daily reality of your section, means everything. The men you are now responsible for were your equals until yesterday. They know exactly what you looked like the first time live fire cracked over your head and every muscle in your body told you to run. One stripe does not erase that memory for them. Some accept it well. One or two immediately become interested in testing precisely how much authority one stripe actually carries. The answer is slightly less than you hoped and slightly more than you feared. You learn that authority at this level is not commanded. It is earned moment by moment through visible competence. If you tell someone to do something and he does it without hesitation, you have authority. If you have to repeat yourself, you don't. The only path forward is to be consistently, demonstrably better at the job than everyone around you until following your lead becomes instinct rather than choice. It is 1940. The word Dunkirk reaches you in pieces. Rumor, then official report, then the faces of the men who returned from France on boats, men who have aged a decade in 3 weeks. More than 330,000 soldiers lifted from a beach under constant air attack, leaving behind their vehicles, their equipment, and their dead. You see some of those men in transit. They don't say much. They don't need to. The ice of reality settles permanently in your chest. This is not a training exercise with a shouting corporal at the end of it. This is a war being fought by men who can die, and you are one of those men. And the single stripe on your arm means 8 people are partly your responsibility when it happens. You begin without consciously deciding to, projecting calm you don't entirely feel. When Private Harris panics before inspection, you steady him quietly, because if he spirals, the section sees it, and then everyone is carrying extra anxiety into whatever comes next. One stripe, already teaching you that leadership is not about authority, it is about being the person who holds things together when everything wants to fall apart. Rank 3. Corporal. 2 chevrons and a section of 10 men that are now entirely yours. This is where everything becomes personal. Before this, the army was something happening to you. As a corporal, you are the point where orders touch actual ground. You decide who goes left, who goes right, who provides covering fire, who moves first into unknown terrain. You make that call in 3 seconds, every time, weighing cover, threat, terrain, and the specific state of every man in your section on that particular morning. You are in North Africa now. It is 1942, and El Alamein is building on the horizon. The desert delivers its own particular misery, not dramatic misery, but grinding, relentless, daily misery. The heat makes the air itself feel hostile. Your uniform was designed for Europe and is completely wrong for this. Sand finds its way into your rifle, your food, your eyes, your teeth. You wake up every morning with grit between your molars. Water is rationed and you learn to want it with an intensity that genuinely surprises you. And the flies, nobody briefed you on the flies. You have been warned about enemy tanks and infantry and air power. Nobody mentioned that the North African fly population has collectively decided your face is the most interesting location in the entire desert and pursues this belief with absolute commitment from dawn until dark. You lose your first man as a corporal during a night patrol outside Tobruk. His name is Private Cartwright. He is 21 years old, from Coventry, and he talks about his sister constantly, apparently the funniest person alive based on every story he has ever told. He takes a round during a withdrawal and you cannot reach him. You file the report. You help write the letter home. You carry it with you from that day forward, and you never once put it down. But alongside that weight, you carry something else. The quiet satisfaction of watching your section move together. 8 men covering each other without words, through signals and habits built over months of shared experience. When it works, when they move as one organism, there is something almost beautiful in it. You would never say that word out loud, but you feel it, and it matters more than you expected. Rank 4. Sergeant 3 chevrons, the backbone of the British Army, and has been for 3 centuries. History fills its books with generals. The Army actually runs on sergeants, and everyone inside the institution knows it without it ever needing to be said. You are the most senior NCO in your platoon. You work directly beneath a young lieutenant, typically fresh from officer training, equipped with education and genuine ability, but short on the kind of knowledge that only comes from years of being where the bullets actually land. Your relationship with this officer is the most delicate professional balance you have ever had to maintain. When his plan will get men killed, you cannot say so plainly. You phrase it as a question. Sir, I'm wondering if we've fully accounted for the drainage ditch on the eastern approach. The meaning is identical to a flat contradiction. The effect on the working relationship is completely different. You have this conversation more times than you can count. You become very good at it. You never enjoy it. It is 1943, Sicily. Allied forces have invaded Italy, and the fighting is close, brutal, and conducted across terrain that seems personally hostile. Rocky hills, narrow roads, temperatures that punish everything. You are clearing a village that has already been cleared twice when the Germans returned. Your section moves through whitewashed streets in bounding overwatch, the technique drilled so deep it is now pure reflex. You see the flicker in the upper window a fraction before the shot. Your shout, contact, upper left, leaves your mouth before your conscious mind has fully caught up with your eyes. The section responds before the echo dies. This is months of training and trust working exactly as designed, and it works, and people live because of it. Afterward, a young private, barely 18 years old, asks you quietly if you were scared. You think about it every time you tell him. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying or broken. He looks relieved. Good. He should be. The ones who stop feeling fear are the ones who start taking risks with no logic behind them, and that is when you begin losing people to mistakes that never needed to happen. Fear, managed correctly, keeps men alive. Managing it, in yourself and in every man around you, is the sergeant's real job. Nobody writes it in any manual, but it is there, in every word you say and every word you choose not to say, every single day. Rank 5. Staff Sergeant, 3 chevrons and a crown. You are now operating at company level, responsible for keeping over 100 soldiers functioning in the field. The fighting continues, but running alongside every tactical situation is a stream of organizational work that never switches off. Ammunition, rations, equipment, replacements, discipline. You become the company's memory. Officers rotate through, posted away or promoted or lost. You remain. You know every man, every weakness, every strength, every particular thing that will keep each of them going when the situation wants to break them. This knowledge is not written anywhere. It lives entirely in your head, and it makes you quietly indispensable in ways that no rank badge can fully represent. Rank 6. Company Sergeant Major. A crown on your sleeve. A pace stick in your hand that is no longer just a tool. It is a statement about everything you have become. You are Company Sergeant Major, the most senior non-commissioned soldier in your company, and the atmosphere changes when you enter a room, not because you demand it, because you have earned it across years of being precisely, consistently right when it mattered most. It is the night before D-Day, June 1944. Your company embarks in hours. You walk through the men quietly, not inspecting, just moving through them, reading faces, making small remarks, stopping here to fix a buckle, there to ask about a man's shoulder injury, telling someone his kit is immaculate in the exact tone that says you noticed and you are not unimpressed. Every word is deliberate. You are reading the temperature of every single man and making quiet, invisible adjustments before the ramp drops and the world becomes chaos. You don't sleep. You sit with cold tea and think about names. Everyone since 1939, the ones still here, the ones who are not. Then the orders come, and you stand up, and you do the job. Rank 7. Regimental Sergeant Major, 1 per regiment. In an army of hundreds of thousands, you are the absolute peak of what a non-commissioned soldier can become. Your badge gleams. Your pace stick carries the weight of every year behind it. When you appear on a parade ground, the atmosphere shifts. Soldiers straighten without thinking, conversations stop mid-sentence, junior NCOs suddenly find urgent things to do. This is not produced by volume, though your voice when needed can carry across an open ground with a clarity that soldiers describe to each other for years afterward. It is produced by what you represent. The regiment, its history, its standards, its unbroken identity through the longest and hardest war the world has ever seen. It is late 1944. Belgium. The regiment has come through North Africa, Sicily, Italy, and Normandy. You have watched men grow through every rank below yours, watched boys who couldn't hold a rifle properly become men who hold platoons together under fire through nothing except experience, calm, and the example set by every good NCO they ever served under. Some of those men are gone. You know the circumstances of almost every loss. You stand in a gray Belgian field one afternoon, mud on your boots for the first time in months, and you allow yourself one private moment. You think about a barracks floor in 1939, a scratchy uniform, a bunk that smelled like someone else's fear, a 19-year-old boy who had no idea what he had signed his name into. You measure the distance between that morning and this one, every rank, every campaign, every decision, every man lost, and every man brought home. And the distance is so vast that it no longer feels like one life. It feels like several, all lived inside the same skin. The artillery rumbles somewhere far to the east. The war is ending. Everyone can feel it. And you stand in that field and you feel something that is not quite joy, not quite grief, not quite relief, but holds all three together in a way that has no name and needs none. You are the Regimental Sergeant Major. There is only one of you in the entire regiment, and you have earned every single syllable of that sentence.